Hi, welcome back to Real Auto Reports. And no, you don't have double vision. We really do have two 2013 Dodge Chargers. On my left, or your right, I have the 2013 Dodge Charger RT all-wheel drive max. So this is going to be your top of the line all-wheel drive, and you can watch all the detailed reviews on this on our YouTube. And then we have on the right, or your left, the 2013 Dodge Charger SXT Plus. This is going to be a rear-wheel drive V6. Now obviously we have the pitch black on this side, non-metallic, and we have the gray metallic on this side. So it is a very deep and rich color. So what's the difference? Well, that's what we're going to tell you. This is the real comparison from Real Auto Reports. I'm Jonathan McGrew, so let's check them out. All right, so in this real comparison, what we wanted to do was tell you a little bit about the differences in these cars. And you can see the detailed reviews on our YouTube site on each one of the cars, along with the first impressions. But the first thing I want to point out is this down here. This is the eye for the adaptive cruise control in the front collision warning system. It is only available on the HEMI-powered engines, or the HEMI-powered Chargers, I should say. So you can't get it when you get the V6, even in the highest SXT Plus trim. So you'll notice it does not have the eye down there in the right. Now the other difference is that this car is, well, not see, chrome. It is not a performance package in terms of it's not a blacktop model. So you have the chrome grille as opposed to this vehicle, which has the blacktop package and has the blacked out gloss grille. Now this car also, when we come around to the side, you'll see has black wheels. Those are a part of the blacktop package. This car has 19-inch wheels, this car has 20-inch wheels. The big difference is with the V6, you have a rear-wheel drive car. Any rear-wheel drive Dodge Charger can have up to 20. I'm sure you could put bigger wheels on it too. However, from the factory, all-wheel drives, whether they're V6 or HEMI, will have to have the same 19-inch wheels you see on this vehicle right here. Let's take a look at these cars from the side. All right, so with these cars from the side, really, there's not a lot of difference. The Dodge Charger body doesn't change from HEMI to V6. However, what you will get on the HEMI is the HEMI badging that you don't get on the V6. You'll also get, when we show you on the rear, the RT badge when you get the HEMI RT. Now, some other things that I do want to point out is that this vehicle has a sunroof. We'll show you what that does when you get inside. But otherwise, these vehicles are pretty much the same from the side. So if you saw only the side, your only dead giveaway that one was a HEMI and one was also an all-wheel drive are the wheels, 19 inches versus 20, and the HEMI badging on the side. Otherwise, Dodge does a pretty good job at keeping people guessing, let's say, so that you can roll up in a V6 and have the same kind of a claim as someone in a HEMI like this that doesn't have a spoiler, doesn't have a sunroof, and looks pretty stealth. Yet, this car will go 0 to 60 in 5.4 seconds, and this car will go 0 to 60 in 6.4 seconds. All right, so from the back, there are some differences here, and they're not really all specific to the V6 versus the HEMI, but I think it's a great comparison here because on because you guys know I own this one, on my all-wheel drive Charger RT Max, I didn't get the spoiler or the sunroof, and we did that on purpose. We didn't want it. On the V6 here we have from Dodge, we have the spoiler and the sunroof, which is a fairly popular package to come from the dealer. So I call this the Stealth Charger, and I call this the Looks Charger, because a lot of people do like the spoiler. I personally am not as much a fan of the Charger with the spoiler, because I think it kind of takes away from the body lines. I love the lip of the back of the trunk lid here, and just the way that this whole racetrack light comes together. Now, that's not to say that the spoiler isn't nice as well, it's just a difference in opinion. So you can really get a perspective here of how different these cars look from the rear. Now, some differences between V6 and HEMI. Well, of course, I've got the RT, so I have RT badging, and I have the all-wheel drive, so I have all-wheel drive badging. You can see that if we just had a rear-wheel drive RT, we'd lose this one under the Charger. The V6s, you don't actually know what package they have unless you can tell by the wheel and tire package or what's inside. Since this is an SXT Plus, this car is pretty much identically equipped as my RT Max all-wheel drive, with that one exception of not having adaptive cruise and the collision warning for driving up and you're coming up on somebody too fast and you're not slowing down. This car will warn you to slow down. This one will not. Otherwise, both cars have the rear camera, and you can pop the trunks on them, and they both open right up. And you can tell we have stuff in both our trunks because what can you do with a Charger? You can carry 15.4 cubic feet of cargo. So, and that is not counting what you can do if you get really creative and fold the back seats down. And then you could just run around the inside of the car because these cars are full size and they have a lot of room. What you can probably not see inside the trunks here is that the Beats audio is on both of these cars and the subwoofer is here in the trunk, giving you an excellent sound system and sound experience. So from the back, that's the Dodge Charger. All right, so it wouldn't be a comparison without comparing what's under the hood. And of course, like we told you, we have a V8 5.7 liter HEMI under our all-wheel drive RT Max Charger right here, and we have the V6. And yes, we did switch sides on you, so don't get confused. But the reasoning is that it's kind of interesting to see these two cars sitting next to each other because this is about a 300 horsepower, this is about 370. You have the all-wheel drive functionality in this car and only rear-wheel drive in this version of the V6. Now you can get all-wheel drive in any of the models, and there's one engine that's missing here. And I wish that SRT8 would just come pulling up right now, but it won't because Dodge didn't give us one. But if you had an SRT8 sitting here, you would have a 6.4 liter HEMI sitting under the hood, and you would get an extra number badge right here back on the HEMI on the side of the fender. So basically, what does this mean? Well, this car will get about 15 miles to the gallon in city, and this one will get about 18 in city. And those are the numbers you really want to know. We'll flash up the full figures for you from the EPA, but those are the numbers you want to know because most of the time we do a lot of in-town driving. So this one will drink a little bit more fuel, this one will be a little bit more economical, but this one will give you that growl and that tire screeching fun every time. So for those of you buying these for the high school crowd, you might want to think about the V6. But anyway, that's just our opinion. I love the HEMI. I bought one, but I'll tell you what, this V6 is a great value.
So what about the interiors of these two vehicles? Well, here we have the RT Max. We have the two-tone interior with the tan and black in this model. You can also get the red and black in the RT. And if you get the Daytona package, there actually is a blue and black that you can get as well. But that'll have the special Daytona stitching in the seats and the suede inserts. There are a lot of different options you can get in the Chargers for the interiors. That's not really the big difference because our SXT Plus and our RT Max are both the top of the line in their model sets, so they all have the memory seats, the navigation, the upgraded leather interior, so they're really nice. Actually, both of them have rear heated seats as well. The big difference here is that you'll have differences like the buttons on the steering wheel because our RT Max has the adaptive cruise that the SXT Plus doesn't, and the shifter for the transmission because the SXT Plus has the 8-speed automatic transmission. You'll have that T-handle shifter that I'm still not sure if I'm a fan of, but you can listen to more about me go on about that in the real video, the real review. Our RT Max has the 5-speed transmission, which means that it has more of the standard gated transmission shift that you probably are used to in other vehicles, where you pull it back through the gate from park to drive, and then you have your manual-matic mode. Something else I should mention is that our RT Max doesn't have paddle shifters, and because the SXT Plus has the blacktop package in the Sport Mode 2, that means it does have paddle shifters. So, a couple of the differences, besides the sunroof option, which does reduce the headroom in the SXT Plus, but Really, not a huge deal. It's not a ton of headroom loss. It's just slightly different. And I do have to give Dodge credit that the sunroof option has a very nice sunshade that is well padded and keeps the light out when you don't want to have the sunroof there. So, just a few of the differences. We're going to tell you a little bit about the driving experience coming up next, and then we'll wrap it up with our real wrap-up. What real comparison would be, complete without a little bit about how these vehicles drive. Basically, what you need to know is that these vehicles have good power, good transmissions, although I still think the 8-speed shifts way too much for my liking. I have to say I really like the 5-speed in our RT Max better. It seems to put the power to the road smoother and more when you want it. The problem with the 8-speed I find in the V6 isn't a lack of power, but it's a lack of intelligence in knowing what gear you want to be in. When you do push that accelerator to the floor, it takes a lot more for it to find the lowest gear to where you can really put the power to the road. And then when you lift off, it takes it a little bit to shift all the way back up into a higher gear so that you can actually cruise and have that fuel economy. Now, that said, that's really an exaggerated sense because you're probably not jamming on the gas and doing all of the testing that we do when we drive these vehicles. However, from a day-to-day driving experience and having put several hundred miles on the SXT Plus and taking it to the mountains here in Colorado and doing the same with our RT Max over the 3,000-4,000 miles that we've had it, I can tell you that I still personally would pick the RT with the HEMI and the 5-speed over the V6 with the 8-speed. There's just a lot more pure muscle car in the RT, and it'll really squeak the tires or squeal them from a stop, whereas the SXT Plus with the V6 really just can't break rubber unless it's really wet outside. Those are the comparison thoughts. See our real video, the real reviews on both of these vehicles for more in-depth reviews on the driving, living, and, well, just everything you might want to know. We'll have the wrap-up coming up next.
So that's the real comparison of the 2013 Dodge Charger models. Of course, as you know, and we've talked about it, we've got our RT all-wheel drive Max over here that I'm sitting on, and we have our SXT Plus V6 rear-wheel drive there. These cars are pretty well matched in the option groups, with the big difference being the engine and the adaptive cruise. That is about a $38,000 car as tested, and this car from the dealer on the MSRP when I bought it was stickered at over $40,000. However, you might get them a little bit cheaper. I'm not saying I paid $40 for this, but I'll tell you what I do love is that this car has never let us down, and we think Dodge has done a great job with them. Whether you choose V6 or HEMI, all-wheel drive or rear-wheel drive, these cars are great looking, great driving, and can carry a lot of people. Also, a lot of cargo. So if you're in the market for a full-size rear or all-wheel drive vehicle, you might want to check out the 2013 Dodge Charger.